Hello. I see somebody joined and just said rats, which I thought was cute. Uh, there. Hello, everyone. Let me know if you can hear my audio well. Uh, the software that I'm using had some changes in their UI, so I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little bit lost, but I will figure it out. I think. Uh, yes, this is what I'm doing. So yeah, please let me know if the audio is good. Please let me know if you can see me well. And I think okay, this is how it changed here. There's a couple new things I can do. Basically, this view that I can do now. I don't know that it really matters, but it's there. Maybe I can use it at the beginning and at the end for the Q&A. It is pretty cold here in Portugal as well. So I'm wearing my hoodie and I have a blankie. So uh, sorry if you wanted to see my entire face. Here it is, but it's cold. Um, all right, I see more and more people are joining, which is good. Let me see. Is there anything else that I can do here that's fancy now? No, this doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. Meh. Okay, new features, but same old. I have this here. Okay. Let me see if we should be posting the announcement now. Okay, I see that's gone live. Very good, very nice. Okay, okay, we're already almost at 50 people. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome to OPR for 2025. What do I want to talk about before we start? Yeah. Last year, as we said many times, was the year of the lore. This year, I'm calling it the year of the store. So there's going to be some interesting announcements today. As well, basically, as we try to focus on not just bringing all of our stuff to a digital audience with uh, 3D printable minis and 2D printable paper minis, but also as we try to reach the players that want our minis but don't have a 3D printer and basically go more physical. We already started going down this path, more focused, let's say, over the last couple months, over the last 3 to 4 months. I think it was in October. Oh god. Well, basically, like we started, we relaunched our Etsy store. We put a bunch of stuff there. We launched with 4 armies. Then we did the big Christmas sale. We released 2-player starter kits, like very small, quick start box with like 10 minis in them. Those have been well received. We have OPR dice, OPR tokens. Those are flying off the shelves, crazy. We have brushes, which also went over pretty well, which is crazy because I was like, who wants brushes from OPR? But apparently, a lot of people want brushes from OPR, so that's nice. So yeah, we did our Christmas sale, and yeah, that's kind of how we wrapped up the year. I guess the last thing that we spoke about was the Rangers program. And that's basically how we wrapped up 2024. So now we are moving into 2025. Yeah, this is gonna be an interesting stream. I am gonna try and keep it not super long, whatever. I always say this and then, but let's see if we manage to hit the right time. But we have some interesting things to talk about. You know. All right, I see that now there is already 65 people online. So can I? Let's do it like this. Introductions are over. Let's go into the meat. So let's start by talking about Broken Truth. All right. So, like I said in the in the last stream of 2024, I was like, oh, keep your eyes peeled. We have some big projects ready to announce. And well, we've announced Broken Truth. What is Broken Truth? Broken Truth is basically our fully physical 2-player starter box slash, well, we actually call it a battle box for Grimdark Future. It features Saurian Starhost versus Robot Legions, and it's coming to GameFound. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it, but we're gonna try something new now, which is so this project was actually mainly led by Paul from OPR, and not directly from me, which is very interesting from my perspective because it means I get to focus on other things without having to always be the one at the head of every new project, which is pretty good. And actually answers a bit of the question. I saw somebody post online, like say, like, "Oh my god, I'm really worried. Like, does this mean that now they cannot focus on the games anymore because they're doing like a physical box?" And it's like, no, 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 no. That's not at all what's happening. I'm fully focused on the creative side. The games, the lore, the minis, the art, all that stuff, and we now have Paul to help out with everything that's like business related and in this case also physical minis related, to actually bring Paul in here and have him actually chat about this box with you guys. So let's see. Let's see if we can do this. Let's see if it works. I just got a small notification saying that the stream blocked for a second. Please let me know if it's working correctly, because I hope it is. So let me see if I can invite Paul in here to join the stream and talk about Broken Truth. First time I'm inviting somebody with me on stream, so I'm not sure how it's going to go. And okay, my audio should be right. And I'm also not sure if it's going to work properly in this software. So let's see. I sent the invite link. Now we wait for him to join us. And oh, okay, wait. I think Paul should be here now. Let me see. All right. Hello,
Hey,
Paul.
hello.
Welcome to
Hello, everybody.
the first guest.
Yes,
Hold on one second. I want to try and see. Ooh, there we go. We can have a fancy new view now. But can I?
nice.
No, now I'm putting you in focus. Sorry. Let me put this in focus. All right, so Broken Truth. I gave a very quick intro to the whole box, but I thought you should take it away and let us.
Cool.
Yes.
Yes, Broken Truth. Yeah. So hi, everybody. I'm Paul. And yeah, as Tano said, I've been working a lot on this project. I've been working on a bunch of things behind the scene. So yeah, I'm super excited to be able to talk about it a little bit. So yeah, this is a big project, and as I think Thanos said something about this, but the main idea the main thing we're trying to do is to make OPR. We're getting lots of requests from people who want OPR to be more easily accessible or playable when you don't have a 3D printer, and to play with our minis without having to 3D print them. And so this is us trying to do that, and at a different scale than we've done before, because for a long time it's been possible to get our minis 3D printed by Only Games and then by Titanforge via our Etsy store. But this is different. This is an actual big box full of minis. It's 2 full armies, 2-player sets. We're not even thinking of it exactly like a starter set, because it has everything you need to start, but it's also a bit more than that. Like, it's really, you can split it with a friend and each gets a full army, and you can do a bunch of games with it. So this is how we try to build it. So in the box there's so we're revealing the armies. If you're on the stream, you probably can tell what's in the box based on the silhouettes and the pictures that we've already shown. But we, like we kind of left some things read out so that we would have things to talk about in updates. And in the meantime, so we know already the minis that are going to be in the box. We know most of the things that are going to be in the box, and we're still working on some details, which is why we are leaving also some things not fully described yet. And we want to be sure that we have everything completely ready before we launch the campaign. So this is kind of where we are now. And a few things I wanted to talk about with this box. So we've already, as soon as we announced, we got a bunch of questions. Some we were expecting, some maybe a bit less. But the big question that everyone's asking us is, what are these minis? Like, what are they made of? What kind of material? So we've answered this in a few places, but what I thought is I could talk about it here a little bit. And the minis are made of PVC. So for those who know a little bit, lots of gaming companies use a material called HIPS. So that's high impact polystyrene is the one on sprues that you can use, stick together using plastic glue, cement. And so that's one option. And then another option, which is kind of more recent, is PVC, which traditionally was more like a board game miniature type of material with less detail, softer, etc. And in recent years, it's been actually, there's been lots of innovation. It's been possible to make some really good minis out of PVC, and it lets us do a bunch of cool things that we wanted to do. And one of them is that it lets us have pre-assembled minis. So then you get the box, you can open the box, and the minis are already there. They're on their base, and you can play with them right away. And since the game, I don't know if people are aware of this, but the rules are just like one single page. So it's actually very, like you can run it really fast, and then you can play it that same evening. We made that choice looking at projects like Ravage Star that had some, really good detailed, high quality minis made of PVC. And then, since we wanted to make sure we're making the right choice, pick the right manufacturing partner, make sure that our minis would be, adaptable to that technology. Then what we did is we went ahead and just made some. So we made a few just to try, and I have one here. And if some of you were at Spiel in October, you probably saw that little gecko, which is also on the campaign page. And I wanted to show it because, like, basically, like, you can see that it doesn't really bend. Like, I'm pushing really hard. Of course, it bends a little bit, but it's really stiff. The level of detail is really good. The picture is probably a better, testimony of that.
Yeah.
But
I
yes,
think
so
we
we
have a
put in a
picture
little
here.
box. Oh yeah. Well, you're not showing it now.
I will
think-
show it in a second.
Okay. Yeah, we have a picture now. But yeah, so we made this little box. We showed it to a lot of people at Spiel, and people thought it was really cool. So that kind of then after that we pulled the trigger and started working on actually making this box happen. And yeah, so we're already, we know who we are making it with, we know how we're making it, and we're just working out some of the details. Lots of questions also about the roadmap. So, I'm not ready to talk about everything yet, but basically what we want to do is to reveal some stuff in the coming weeks of the what's in the box, and also I'm hoping to get help from the community because there are some things that we can add to this project. We know what we want to have in this project, but there's some more things that we can put in there, some add-ons. And I'm planning to use the campaign page because on GameFund you can do like audience polls. And to poll people who are interested in the campaign, the best place to do that is to do it on the campaign page, and to get people to tell us what kind of add-ons they want. There are some in which we're hesitant between two choices, and so we can just ask you guys which ones you think we should go with. So we're not ready to do that yet, but it should come pretty soon so that we have time to prepare those things between the poll, the decision, and then before the campaign launches, so that when we launch we know what we're doing, and it's fully ready for production.
Cool. Paul. So, all
yeah.
right. Of course, there's things we're not super ready to reveal yet. Can you talk a little bit about box contents? Like what are generally the things that people can expect inside the box?
Yeah, sure. So inside the box there will be miniatures. So the two full armies. Um, so then what we wanted to achieve was to have everything you need to play, right? So to play you need minis, you need rules. So you will have there's the full advanced rule book will be in the box, but actually we're making a cooler version of the advanced rule book where we are combining the rule book, the advanced rule book from Grimdark Future with the lore book, the world book, sorry. Into a bigger book. Hardcover will be really nice quality. It will have cool art, which is, by the way, another thing that's coming. So we are going to reveal more art that will be part of the campaign. A lot of the art on the page right now is placeholder, and we will make it look even better. So we're excited about that. So you will have minis. You will have the rule book. You will have dice. You will have tokens. You will have even. We're trying to fit in a ruler too, because some of you who are like Tano and myself in Europe, and if you don't have a ruler in inches or a tape measure in inches, then you need something to measure inches. So you will have that. And am I missing anything? Basically, so yeah, I think that's it, right? So everything you need to play. Yes, I am missing something. Some terrain, which is also something that we don't want to talk about quite yet, but there will be terrain, and we'll tell you more later
Yes.
about the terrain.
Okay, so I guess.
I see a question which actually I wanted to
Yeah, I
talk
wanted
about.
to just basically ask
Someone
you
is
the questions
asking.
from the community that I see here. Um,
Cool.
let's go one by one.
I see one already that I want to
Okay,
answer.
will Broken Truth be available in stores?
Yes, that's the one. So yes, notice the fingers. Yeah, so that's kind of the idea, right? So what we're trying to do with Broken Truth is we don't want to do like a one-off campaign. It's us trying to do something new that then we can keep doing. So we want to, it's really hard to start doing a big physical project if you don't have something to kick it off with. So then crowdfunding campaign is perfect for that. But then once we have that, we have a product that we can get to stores. And for a long time, we've had, stores talking to us and saying, how can I carry your range? And we're like, we don't have a good solution for you because 3D printing is 3D printing is great when you're doing it yourself, but when you're trying to do it at scale and then to sell it, the manual labor basically makes it very expensive, and so that's why you don't get great margins from even selling online the way we're doing. It's a harder business than when you can produce at scale like we're trying to do with Broken Truth. So then it's not great to sell at stores because then the stores also need to make money, so we need to give them a good price so that they can resell at retail value and make some money off of it. So for now, we haven't had a good product for stores. We are starting to see some interest from the starter sets that we've released on Etsy, King's Wrath and the Last 10 at the end of last year, which were super successful for skirmish scale games. But this is a product that's also designed to be available in stores. So we're hoping that stores will see an interest. We're already getting lots of questions. So some stores are interested. Some people want their stores to be interested. So that should get their stores interested, hopefully, because it means that they want to buy from them. And then once we have done that, we can do more products that's also targeted for stores. We have long-term plans based off of that. So that was the long answer. The short answer is hopefully will be available in stores. But right now, basically, since we just announced, we don't have all the data yet. Like we can't tell you when, we can't tell you in which stores. But that's one thing that I'm also hoping to do as the campaign progresses, is to open a way for stores to tell us if they're interested, how much they're interested, etc. and either have a way for them to pledge into the campaign in a way that makes sense for stores, and/or open ways for them to order before, after, so that they can have product in stores. So yeah, we'll try to gather interest from stores, and we'll try to get it to as many places as possible.
Okay, cool. Yes, we hope. More questions. What about translations?
Translations. Okay, so translations are tricky for us, and for many reasons, but the two reasons is because number of languages, and then number of games, and then also number of versions of the rules. So we have the core rules, we have the advanced rules, we have the quick start guides, we have the we have a lot of documents, and even in English it's a lot of documents to manage, because then we have that for each of our 8 games. So we are working on a translation project, but starting small, and I don't have a guarantee yet that we like the timelines are kind of in parallel. So if what I can pretty much assure you is that we won't translate the full book, but we might have something smaller, like translating the core rules, for instance, and at least having that, which means that you would be able to play in a bunch of languages straight from opening the box. But I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about this, because this is one of those things where we're not sure it's going to make it into the campaign. So we're working on it. If it doesn't make it to the campaign, at least it will be available later online at some point. Yeah, and I'm actually working with some translators from the community, because lots of people have already done some fan translations which are pretty good, and that we can use as a good starting point for to have an official one in a few languages. So yeah, this is also something that's happening in the back end that's is not visible yet.
Okay. Another question I see here. When you say full army, what do you mean? How many points per side?
So right now, with the current rule set, the 2 armies are just shy of 2,000 points each, and I think you can get they're just like 1,800 something points with the upgrades. I think one of them you can get to around 2,000.
Okay.
So yeah, like proper size game.
Cool. All right. We're ready. Almost 25 minutes in. I think last thing to talk about is the bonus gift.
Yes. Yeah. So it's if you follow the Game Fund campaign, you get a gold dice tray with the onepagerules logo. That then when you get the box, so it gets added to your pledge if you pledge in the campaign. So then you can throw your dice into. You can see OPR. Keep OPR in mind all the time. Yes. And there's one more thing also I wanted to talk about, because we've seen some people, and you addressed it a bit at the beginning. Like, we've seen some people who were a bit afraid that this means that we're stepping in a new direction, and that we will stop doing what we've been doing for people who supported us for a long time. And it's not the plan at all. Like, we are at heart, we are a company that makes a lot of 3D printable minis every month, and this is really cool. And we have, like, Tano, if you watch the stream, Tano always talks about the long-term plans and 50,000 factions that we're going to release, and that's still very much the plan, and it's actually what has enabled us to work on Broken Truth. Like, we know where we're coming from, and we're not planning on stopping the 3D printing side of the business to focus on plastic, basically ever, because both work. Like, if there is a reason for us to do plastic now, it's because we've been doing 3D printing in the past, and we believe that the future of what companies like us do is you kind of have to do both. And because if someone wants an affordable way to play and they're ready to 3D print, then cool, and we're we're happy with that. We're here because of that. So yeah, we believe in that really hard.
Okay. All right, Paul. Thank you very much for joining. It has been interesting to have a guest
No
on the show.
problem.
Maybe I'll have somebody else another time. Anything else, or we close here?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay. I don't know how to kick you out, so I think you're gonna have to see yourself out. Thank you for joining, Paul. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.
All right. Let me see. Okay. So
I'm trying to
you're
leave.
trying to leave.
I'm still here.
Uh,
Okay, just
yes. Okay. All right. I'm going to put a link here. I am not sure if I can. Can I pin it? Is this pinning the link? I hope it's pinning the link on YouTube. Sorry, guys. Let me quickly double check if this is working correctly. Um, but uh, uh, but it should work. Is it pinned? It's not pinned. Is it pinned now? It's pinned now. Okay, cool. Where is the stream? I have the stream here. All right. Okay. Yes. So that was Broken Truth. Lots more info coming over time. I have pinned the link, so make sure to follow the campaign so that you can get your free bonus gift. And yeah, see how it continues. All right, let's move on to the next topic because we're already half hour in here and there's lots of things to talk about. All right, so what do we have next? All right, so speaking of physical models, as I was talking about before, we have revamped our Etsy store, and as part of this, we are slowly adding new armies to Etsy. And yeah, a lot of people have been asking us like, oh, how can I get this army? How can I get that army? Are you ever gonna upload Army X? And yes, we're gonna upload all the armies. It's just gonna take some time because we're going through some quality control. We're checking a bunch of things before we post them up on Etsy. Today we have released the Alien Highs and Eternal Dynasty on Etsy. You can go and grab them now. You can grab the individual minis. You can get the units. You can get the army boxes. All of that stuff. And also one more thing, we now also provide the um, we also provide the minis with bases now. So there, actually, that was always our intention. There was a very small error at the very beginning where there was a miscommunication and we were sending out minis without bases, but now all the minis are being sent out with bases. So yeah, you basically get your minis with bases, which is good. And yeah, our plan is to add a couple more armies very soon. I think so. We just added two more sci-fi armies, so Alien Hives and Eternal Dynasty, and I think two more fantasy armies, which should be Ratman and War Demons, should be coming out Mm, in the next couple weeks. That's kind of the plan. Some things have to align, but basically, yes. Over time, we're adding all the armies. My hope is that within the next, and depends on how things go, but let's say within the next 6 to 12 months, slowly we have updated and uploaded all of the armies on Etsy, and also new things as they come out, as new armies come out, will be available on Etsy, so that if you don't have a 3D printer, you can totally play with OPR minis physically. All right, cool. Moving on to the next thing, which is community events. Yes. So at the end of last year, we launched the Rangers program. As part of the Rangers program, we basically said like, hey, you can sign up to become a Ranger. Here's all the reasons you should be a Ranger. But also, please, sign out your events. Sign out. Share with us your events so that basically we can put them on our website. So if you go on the OPR website right now, you can see a bunch of events that are available, around the world. If you have a OPR event that you're running, be it a tournament, be it a casual game night, be it a painting session, demos, whatever it might be, go on our website. Make sure to share. All that info with us. We have a form that you can basically fill out if you go to the community section, and we will then post it on our website. The plan is that every month we're going to post new community events to our website. Also, if you're already at it, you might as well uh, 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 sign up to become a ranger, so that you can get some extra perks, and we can try and help you out a little bit with organizing a local OPR community, running events, whatever it might be. So yeah, community events are available on the website. Pretty exciting stuff. And all right, moving on to the next thing. So speaking of community, so we had a community survey that we launched in December. We ran it throughout December, and now we have finally posted the results on our website for the whole survey. Very interesting. I don't want to go through the whole survey right now because we don't have a ton of time, and I think there is a part of me that thinks you should just check it out yourself and kind of I don't know. Everybody has different takeaways from the survey, and so I don't want to be necessarily just giving you mine. Whatever. And yeah, it's very interesting to see how, like, which things have remained the same, which things have changed over the last 6 months. There are some trends that we've always seen. For example, like armies that have been released recently usually get more votes on which armies do people play. But for example, it's been very interesting to see Star Quest and Quest, like now that they've been out for a while, like which game is becoming how popular and so on and so forth. And of course we have at the end, like we have like a little box where people can write everything and anything that they thought, and that was also very cool. Thank you very much for sending us all your feedback on the community survey. So yeah, make sure to go on our website and check it out. And yeah, it's cool. It's cool. All right, moving on to the next thing. Sorry, I'm trying to speed run a little bit because we still have a lot of stuff to go through, and yeah, we're already half hour into this. So another new thing that we have released, yeah, I suppose, is we now have campaign lists on Army Forge. What does that mean? So if so one thing that people have been asking us for a long time is like, okay, hey, I got into OPR through a narrative campaign, I don't know, Edge of the Radiance, and I just want to quickly start playing. Like, can you recommend me some lists? And well, we are going to do that now. So basically, if you go to Army Forge, if you go to the various armies, for any army where we have released some sort of content, campaign, mission pack, whatever, you can now go and click on community lists, and then that will bring you to this screen. And so here you can see the community lists, which are, by the way, generally speaking, everybody can share their community, their list with their community, which is very cool. But now we also have official lists. So you have a little filter that you can click to see all the official lists. And well, if you don't click it, they'll just be mixed in with the rest. And then basically you can see the lists for that particular army. Here, for example, we can see the Duchies of Vinci, which have. So we had the Duchies of Vinci book, which had 4 narrative heroes, and we also had the Secrets of Tishal narrative campaign, which also came with 2 heroes. And so we made a battalion. That's what we called it. We basically made like a different list that goes with each of the heroes, so that you have a good starting point for those armies. And yeah, it's been an interesting thing to do. You can expect us to keep adding more armies to the community lists, and hopefully this helps players get into the games more easily. I also highly encourage everyone and anyone that makes army lists on Army Forge, like, share them with the community. If you think you made something cool, if you made something that you think could be helpful, make sure to share it. It's interesting because it's a feature that I feel can be very helpful, very useful, but not that many people know about. So this was also another way for us to highlight that this is part of the things that you can do on Army Forge. All right. Moving on to the next thing, which is the last tier. Okay, actually, it's interesting because I saw people read the title of the campaign and ask themselves, like, is it the last tier? Is it the last tier? The name is actually meant to be a little bit of a mix because, because of things that happen in the story. But the official name is the last tier. So this is our next narrative campaign for Age of Fantasy. It is part of the Reclamation Saga. The Reclamation Saga is basically our storyline. It's the storyline that's happening within the world of Age of Fantasy. So Age of Fantasy is a setting, and then the story that we're telling, like this epic saga that we're telling, is called the Reclamation Saga. This story is features Ratman versus Demons of War. And as always, I don't want to spoil things, but it is. It is a very interesting way for us to kick things a little bit more into gear. Story wise, you basically have the Retman defending against a war demon. Assault, and how can I put it? The war demons are there for reasons to be revealed to the Ratman. Does that make sense? And then a lot of very interesting things happen. There's lots of twists and turns. I think it's a very fun campaign. This is actually for Age of Fantasy Skirmish. It's for Skirmish. So basically, what am I trying to say? I don't know. It's different. Like, so far, we've basically only released campaigns for the big games. It's also been interesting to release a campaign for a skirmish game, it's also interesting that we made a campaign for the skirmish games. It was interesting. I find it. Yeah, like I'm the one that designs all the missions for these, and uh, it's also interesting for me to see, like, how the game design principles are kind of shifting between narrative campaigns. Like, you still have the usual structure. You have the story, you have missions, you have the different heroes and all that stuff, like special setups and special rules and stuff like that. But with narrative campaigns, what I find interesting compared to, say, a mission pack. Okay, I don't know if I've ever really talked about this, but, like, for me, the thing about the mission packs is that you get 18 missions, and they're all meant to be very different. They're all meant to, like, take you through very different types of gameplay. Whereas when I'm working on the narrative campaigns, they have 10 missions, and they're meant to kind of like flow more from one to the other, and essentially teach you mechanics in early missions that then get a twist in later missions. So for example, in this campaign, without too many spoilers, I suppose, I focused on two major mechanics. On the one side, I focused on reinforcement mechanics. So, units coming in late, units respawning, units, all that type of stuff. And so, like, in the first missions, it starts, let's say, simple, with just a very basic reinforcement structure. And then later missions that have reinforcements, like, get not more complicated, but, like, they have twists. It works a bit different. And I thought that was very interesting. It kind of, like, echoes throughout the campaign. And the same thing with the other major mechanic that I was working with is duels. This campaign is a lot about duels, let's put it that way. And so it's the same thing where, like, the first missions introduce the concept of dueling, and then as you go on, the way that the dueling works kind of, like, twists and turns and changes a little bit. Anyway, I thought that was very interesting for me to work on it, and I hope you enjoy it as well. This is, going to be like a classic by now, I suppose, a classic OPR narrative campaign release. So it'll be available on my Mini Factory Frontiers. You'll be able to get the campaign book with the 4 heroes, 2 Ratman heroes, and 2 War Demon heroes. You'll also be able to get the armies for Ratman and for demons. You'll be able to get a bunch of add-ons. Yeah, I mean, I think that's about it. Actually, I just remembered something. I should take a note that I need to talk. to one of our guys about. Sorry, it's actually interesting. Sometimes I have these streams, and then I remember things that I think would be interesting to add. Anyway, yeah. So a new narrative campaign coming, pushing forward the Reclamation Saga. I hope you enjoy it. I thought it was pretty cool. And it's also always nice to see the Ratman come back. Oh, I think I touched my microphone, and now I don't know if I have the correct microphone selected. It seems to be. Please let me know if it works. If there's any issues with the audio, sorry if it broke up for a second. I pushed the microphone and it messed things up. All right. So okay, that was the last tier. Let's move on to the next thing, which is I don't even remember. Okay. Game development progress. So I have, as I mentioned already before, I suppose I have been working on the. I've been working on the refluffing, the retheming of armies. As I spoke about in streams before, I want to make sure that I talk about this every month in these streams, so that people are not suddenly like blindsided and it's like, what is happening in September? Because in September, that's the plan. We are going to be releasing the we're going to be releasing the retheming. At least that's the plan so far. So there will be a new, let's say, edition of the games, a new version of the games, which will be v3.5. My expectation is that the core rules are not going to change. We might add a couple of special rules to the common special rules. Basically, I want to take some of the weapon special rules that right now are scattered throughout some armies, and I want to take them away from there, I guess. I want to take them from there and put them in the core rules, so that they become more commonly available weapon special rules that you can see throughout the different armies. Besides that, what will the retheming bring? So the retheming will bring, well, on the one side, definitely renaming of some things, just to make them be more in fluff for us in a way that makes more sense. But also, basically, I want to rework all armies, or tweak all armies to basically have more thematic rules. So what does that mean? On the one side, it means that I want every army to have at least one um, special, like a weapon special rule that is exclusive to that army. One thing that is exclusive to that army within that setting. So we have two settings, so you might see an army exclusive weapon special rule that's available for an army in sci-fi, and that it's also available in fantasy, but it should not be repeated within the same setting. I hope that makes sense. So basically, I want them to have a specific army weapon rule. I want them to have an army special rule that is on basically most, if not all, of the units in the army. You can see it right now in some armies, like, let me think. Blessed Sisters have Devout, right? Every army, every unit in the army has Devout, for example. That type of stuff. Other things, I am going to tweak what access heroes have, like access which special rules. Fuck. Sorry. Which hero special rules the heroes in each army have access to. Maybe add a couple for some armies, because I know that some armies have like two, and I think there should be at least 5 or 6 per army. I am going to tweak all the spell lists. I'm actually also thinking of maybe having army specific spells that are exclusive to a specific army. So again, making sure that each army feels and plays a little bit differently. What else do I want to do? I want to also add some other form of army special rule that is exclusive to an army. For example, something like the laser markers. Laser markers, is that what they're called? From the Dow Union, right? That's a rule that they have there. What else am I working on? So yeah, so basically adding, shuffling things around a little bit and adding a bunch of stuff so that each army has more unique rules that you cannot find in other armies, so that that army plays that way. And then what else am I working on? Yeah, there's other tweaks that I'm working on. I'm working on tweaking weapons because I feel like right now, again, with the addition of new core weapon special rules, it will give us access to do more varied weapon profiles throughout all armies. So that's something that I would like to do. So basically, tweak the weapons. Another thing that I would like to do is I want to make sure that every unit has access to like two or three special rules upgrades that they can use to tweak basically. So you can like specialize your units. So you'd be like, okay, like I'm taking this unit of warriors, but like I don't know. Now I'm just spitballing, right? But I'm going to take this unit of warriors, and then I'm gonna make sure that they have I don't know javelins, and then I will also upgrade them with stealth. And now my unit of warriors has one specific feel, whereas you might take the same unit of warriors, but you'd be like, no, 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 I'll give them spears, and I'll give them like a protective shield type of buff, and now it feels like a much more defensive unit. So basically, ways to allow you to further tweak your army and go in different directions. This will also mean, of course, that we'll have to tweak unit profiles a bit. I'm also thinking of right now. I'm also thinking of adding some rules and tweaking things to essentially um, ideally, I'm hoping, ideally solving once and for all the hybrid problem. Hybrid problem is basically the idea that there are some units that are both heavily invested in being strong melee units and strong ranged units, and that in OPR terms, that is basically a waste of points because it um, sorry. If you have a unit that is sorry, so many things in my mind. Basically, like if you have a hybrid unit, the problem is that the unit is really good at shooting and it's really good in melee, but it cannot do both at once in OPR, right? You cannot move and shoot at the same, like move. You cannot shoot and charge at the same time. And so basically, you just spent a bunch of points on shooting, but then you charged in melee, and now suddenly it's like, what was the point? And so, anyway, I want to find a way. I think I have found a solution to the hybrid problem that will basically make that go away. And yeah, lots of things. I'm working on this very actively. I'm working on it every day. And it's interesting how things are shifting for those that make custom armies in um, Army Forge Studio. We are also working on some interesting systems that will give you more freedom than before. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to work out, but basically, um, fuck it, I'll just talk about it. Basically, we are working on a system that will allow you to create custom special rules that are fully functional and fully calculated in the game. So the idea, one of the problems that I see right now is that people say like, "Oh, I would like to make this special rule, but if I make a custom special rule, well, it doesn't get costed, or it doesn't get automatically costed, and my book will be counted, will basically be shown as being as containing custom rules, and so it'll be, people will be like, that's not balanced, I don't know about it." And so my idea is basically to create a system, a relatively complex system, that basically allows you to generate rules from scratch. They will have an automated point calculation thing done. They'll basically have points assigned, and then and if it is the way it is, it will have millions of combinations of rules, so you can create whatever. Well, within bounds, you can create whatever your heart desires and make really interesting special rules and combos that then are fully functional in OPR. That being said, this is quite a complex system, and I don't know if it's going to work out. So I'm just throwing it out there. But yes, so I wanted to talk about this progress as a whole, because I think that it's important that people are aware of it. I know that the people that watch the stream every month are very aware of this. But I hope that other people, that the word slowly spreads throughout the community, and more people become aware of the fact that, hey, like in September, so in 8 months from now, 8 9 months from now, there will be changes to the armies. All armies are changing. They're not changing completely, so don't worry. It's not like suddenly your Dao Union is gonna be a full melee army. Like, don't worry, we're not doing anything. We're not doing anything stupid. But there will be changes. There will be changes, and so maybe like maybe your favorite unit will become cheaper or more expensive. Maybe your favorite unit will have access to upgrades that are different. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, I just want there to be an awareness out there about this thing. Um, okay, okay, cool. So that's about game dev stuff. Now let's move on to the next topic, which is okay. We're done with general studio updates. We now move on to previews. We are 50 minutes into this. I'm gonna try and be fast. So let's talk about what's coming out in um, February. So February, we're looking at the Grove for the Wood Elves. So the Grove, so the Wood Elves are split into different sub factions. We have the Glade, which is like the general, the most basic, let's say, of infantry and stuff like that, and cavalry and archers for the army. Then we have the Grove, which is more specialized stuff. Then we have Wild, which is even more specialized stuff. And then, of course, we have Treemen and Eternals. The Grove are interesting. I like their design. They're meant to be. They're meant to feel more. I don't want to say fancy, but they're meant to feel more elite and more elaborate, but also still a little bit wilder. It's this interesting mix for me of like um, them being wilder than Glade, but being more refined, let's say, in some ways. And yeah, I think that's a really cool mix. Here we can see the Grove Champion, I think he's called. The Grove Master. Don't quote me on that. And basically, um, sorry, I got distracted. So this is your basic hero for the Grove, which is the Grove Champion or Grove Master. Don't quote me on that. Then you are also going to get the Grove Champion on Great Stag. Yeah, I mean it's a cool stag. I like that the stags are like hairier and like they have these bigger horns. And this is the version for the hero, which I think is going to come out really cool. Well, I think it already looks pretty cool, but once it's posed with the weapon, with everything, that's going to be very cool. So then you're going to have basically your mounted version of the hero. Then you're also going to get I think these are called the Grove. I'm so sorry, I forget all the names now. These are the Grove Defenders? No, the Defenders were like the archers. These are called. Hold on, I'm checking it out right now. These are the Grove Wardens. Jesus Christ! All right, the Grove Wardens basically are your monster hunters, your melee monster hunters. So they have these huge two-handed swords. I think came out really cool. And yeah, they have a command group. They again, they have like this intricate. They have this wooden design, but it's all much more intricate with all these like braid like designs compared to maybe if you look at the basic treemen. Yes, they also have a wooden design, but everything is kind of wild. Everything is kind of all over the place. Whereas for the Grove, everything is very precise. Everything is very nicely refined. So these guys are going to be very cool. Then you are also going to get so they're not called Stag Riders. They're the Grove Lancers. The Lancers are basically if your Deer Riders are your light cavalry. For the Wood Elves, your Lancers are basically your heavy cav. So these are Grove elves on these bigger stags. I think they look really awesome. I know some people saw the deers and they were like, "Oh, like these seem so light and like they don't seem big, like whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, that's the point. That's the whole point. Was that the deer riders are more like a light cavalry type of thing, and the stag riders, in this case the lancers, are this heavier cavalry type of thing. And when you see them on the table, they feel very distinct, and you can see their roles better, which I thought was very cool. Because like the deer riders also, they're like archers, they're mounted archers and stuff like that. Anyway, so yeah, I think these are going to be very cool. Yeah, they come with a command group. They have a cute buddy. Yeah, all the good stuff you expect from the Grove. Then you're also going to get yes, this is, I think, the first unit. No, actually, technically, it's the second unit that we're releasing that is from the wild side of the elves. The first one that released was the Spellweaver, and that was actually in the first month. So the wild side of the elves is the, let's say, cult of the owl. They're much more related to the owl side of things, which you saw already in the Spellweaver. But yeah, you're also going to get the war dancers and stuff like that in the coming months, which are very cool. But here we have um, the mounted weavers. So when we had we had three cavalry units in the army, and we thought, okay, we have the light cavalry unit, which is deer riders, and then we have the heavy cavalry unit, which is stag riders. And then we thought, okay, so we're gonna make a mounted, like a magic unit that's mounted. What do we do? Do we use other types of deer or whatever? And we said, no, let's come up with something new. Let's come up with something cool. And here we came up with the Chimera. You might have already seen pictures of the small chimera, like owl chimera buddy, which is very cute. But these are the actual owl chimeras, and there's actually something bigger coming later, which we can talk about later. And basically, yeah, so these are owl, I don't even know, I don't want to call horse, but like owl horse hybrids, whatever. They're basically like owl horses, let's say. And yeah, you have the weavers that ride them. They have like these special staffs and spears and stuff like that. And yeah, I think these are gonna be very cool. They give me a very strong, like, Princess Mononoke vibe in some way, which I think is very cool. I think it's the mask with the fur and stuff like that. Well, not the fur, but like the feathers. So yeah, that's gonna be cool. That is the Wood Elves preview for February. All right, moving on to sci-fi. So HDF. So what are you gonna get for the HDF? All right, number one, you are going to get the bikers, and with that, you are going to get the company leader on bike. You can see him here. Looks very cool. Um, what is the deal here? Well, he has a special version of the bike. We're gonna see the regular bike afterwards, and that's gonna give you a better sense. But yeah, he basically has like his special version of the bike. He comes with different weapons. He has different pistols. I think he has different swords. I think he might have the rifle as well. I don't remember. But yeah, he comes with a bunch of different weapon options. And actually, here I also noticed I need to write something now. Okay. And yeah, I have to say I like the. Well, hold on. Let's move on for a second. Yes. Here you can see the basic HDF bikers. This guy's just holding the bike with both hands, but there's also a version with like a lance, and also with like special weapons and stuff like that. And I really like the way that these came out. I feel I don't know, when we first decided to change the idea of the cavalry from horseback, because it didn't really make sense for the HDF, to the actual bikes. I was a little bit doubtful in some way, because I was like, what if it just doesn't work out? And in the end, I think actually it came out really cool. I like the idea that the bikes feel smaller, they feel lighter than, for example, the bikes from the Blessed Sisters or from the Dwarf Guilds, because the idea is also that these guys are T1s, right? Those are T3 units, and this is a T1 unit. They come with lots of different options, of course: helmets, no helmets, male, female, different weapons. I think they have three different types of spears or lances. I think they have like a regular lance that everybody can have, and then like one of them can upgrade to a heavy lance, and another one can upgrade to a like an anti-tank type of lance, like a sort of EMP device. Um, anyway, the bikes are looking cool. I am looking forward to seeing more of them. All right, moving on to yes, there is one more thing I wanted to show you, but unfortunately, I don't have any like cool poses to show you yet. But we are also working on the stormtroopers. The stormtroopers are coming out in February. You're gonna get the stormtroopers and the storm leader, which is basically their hero version. What are the stormtroopers? Well, the stormtroopers are the I don't know if I want to call it. I guess the shock infantry for the HDF. They are actually fully armored. So if you look at the armor from the regular HDF, it's basically like they have chest plates, they have like knee pads, maybe they have they have these sort of like shoulder pads. They kind of have arm guards and stuff like that, but they're not super heavily armored. They're armored enough, but they're not super heavily armored. Whereas here you can see the stormtrooper, and the stormtroopers are actually fully armored from head to toe. Every part of them is covered because these guys are, these are your badasses that go to alien planets. They fight on space stations. They fight in orbit. Lots of different things that they can do. They also have special weapons, and you will see more. Unfortunately, like I said, I don't have the cool poses here to show you. But yes, when we decided to make the stormtroopers, we wanted them to feel different, and so we changed the design of the armor. So as you can see, like the chest plate is very different than the one from the regular infantry, but still we wanted to maintain, of course, the same style. So they have this very like flat panel style and this type of stuff, and yeah, I think they're gonna look very cool. All right, then we move on to the Lightwalker. So you're also going to get the Lightwalker. Unfortunately, the screenshot is not great, to be honest, but it is what I had. There's actually more screenshots on Patreon now. I think you can go check them out there. It's an open post, so of course anybody can see it. The Lightwalker. Well, what can I tell you about the Lightwalker? It is compared to the Titan Walker. It is much smaller and much lighter. So the Lightwalker is I think around 70, 75 millimeters tall. It has access to a bunch of different weapons, machine guns, rocket launcher. Here you can see the autocannon. It has a laser cannon, lots of different weapons. It also has like mounted missile launchers at the top of its back. You cannot see it fully here, but compared to the ones from the Titan Walker, the Tactical Titan, the Tactical Walker, the Tactical Titan. Sorry, the Tactical Titan has basically like 12 rockets it can shoot at once. And this one has like half, so it's smaller and stuff like that. It changes silhouette. It has a smaller head. Yeah, I think it looks really cool. I actually saw the community reacting really well to it. One thing, by the way, I saw that people one thing that I saw people ask is like, oh, are these like just giant robots? Like, is there a pilot? If you actually pay attention and you look closely, you can see that behind the neck, there's actually like a hinge, and like on the sides, there are handles. So actually, yes, you can open this, and there's a pilot that goes inside. The pilot can jump out, and it can go into an autonomous mode, like the robots, like the grunts and the ogres. But it is a piloted mech for sure. Okay, so I think that's HDF for February. Yes, we have more previews. Yes, okay. So Age of Fantasy Quest, you are going to get the Change Demons Warlock. A cute design. I like it. The Warlock is, he's meant to feel a little bit, I don't want to say evil, but a little bit more twisted. So his staff has like a bone, and it has a skull of a bird, which they're birds. So and he's casting this cool thing of magic, and actually like the Change Demons have like 3 eyes on both sides. But we thought it would be interesting here that this guy actually fully covers his eyes and basically is guided by his let's say dark gods. And yeah, I think it's coming out. It's coming out. It came out really cool. Very cool design. I like the Quest Heroes. Then you are also going to get there's a cool Star Quest mini that's coming out, but unfortunately I don't have a picture of it here. So we're gonna have to skip that. Sorry. But we have terrain. Yes. So we started releasing, or we are starting the release. We're starting the release. Have we already started the release? Oh my god, I am so sorry. It is pretty late here, and I'm a little bit fried. Basically, um, we're releasing. So we finished releasing the urban terrain, and now we are going to be releasing the desert terrain. And here, basically, you can see a preview. Yeah, the idea with the desert terrain was to make something that feels like it can be used both for fantasy and sci-fi. Something that yeah, technically you could use it for modern as well. Yeah, we wanted this desert theme, but we didn't want it to be just you know only dunes and sand and rocks. So we added some trees and stuff like that, but we kept them. We kept the design in such a way that they feel like they could belong in a desert or a desert type environment. Um, yeah, that's the terrain preview. All right, moving on. Then you are going to get. Okay, sorry for this. Again, I was hoping that I was going to get the screenshots today, but I still didn't get the screenshots. So what I can show you here is the block out for the HDF super heavy battle tank. This is basically the most massive vehicle that the HDF have. I think it's like almost double the size of like a tank in all like directions. It's massive. It's gonna come with a bunch of weapons. So it has, what does it have? I think it has like two sponsons, and the sponsons are double sponsons. So they have like a machine gun, I think, and a laser cannon. Or the machine gun can be replaced for a flamer, I think. It has an additional like mortar at the front. It can have additional like um, hole mounted machine guns, I think. It has two machine gunners at the top, and of course, it has one massive battle cannon that comes in different variations. And yes, like I said, unfortunately, this is the block out that I got. This was, by the way, this was just a block out to get a sense of like the scale and not to this is not actually the materials that it's going to be made of. But yes, sorry, this is what we got now. All right, moving on to the next thing. So I think this was it for February previews. So we can go and take a look at March. So what are you gonna get in March? So for the Wood Elves, we are going to be releasing the Eternals. So the Eternals are another part of the faction of the Wood Elves. Like I said, the Wood Elves have basically 5 parts of their faction. Very big faction, actually. And the Eternals are basically, so when a Wood Elf dies, they essentially put them in these cocoons where they kind of are reborn into an eternal, because they're reborn, they're living eternally, whatever. They're basically reborn, and they don't die, they continue living on as an eternal, which is basically it's like a weird elf bug hybrid, which goes very well in theme with how like the glade has bugs and stuff like that. And so yeah, so you're going to get the Eternals. The Eternals are there's lots of parts to them. So first of all, you're going to get the Elder. The Elder is basically your hero. One thing, by the way, that here is a little bit deceiving. So one thing about the Eternals is that they're 99% of their weapons are all naturally part of their body. So they fight with like claws, or they have blades, but these blades kind of like grow from their arms and stuff like that. Only a few of them actually use, handheld weapon, and the Elder is one of them. So yeah, the Elder is your basic hero. I mean, it's your hero for the Eternals. Then you're also going to get I think it's called the Eternal Spellweaver, which is basically your wizard for the Eternals. He's gonna get a cool staff. Not sure that the pose is gonna be exactly this one because it's a bit low. But he's gonna get a cool staff. He's gonna get like a cool, head and different features. I realize that this pre-concept is not super precise. Then you're also going to get the Eternals themselves. So the Eternals themselves, again, here was an older screenshot where we still had the idea of them holding weapons, but now instead of him holding this weapon, holding this sword, the sword would be actually part of his arm. The Eternals actually come with lots of options. I think they come with like claws. They come with like these arm swords. They come with bows. They also come with a command group, of course, so 5 poses plus 3 for the command group. So you get a sergeant, you get a musician, you get a standard bearer. And actually, it's interesting because like their standard is part of them. Again, like they have this whole thing where they are made, like their instruments are what they're made of. So like their musician, for example, has like a sort of harp, but the harp kind of like grows from its arm, and the banner actually kind of like grows from the back. And they also have the option for wings. So that's another thing. So you can make them flying or not. It's a very interesting specialist unit, I have to say. Then you're also going to get the Eternal Hunters. The Eternal Hunters are basically your they're basically your T3 unit from the Eternals. So they're bigger, they have bigger weapons, they're stronger. They come with, yes, I think they come with dual hand heavy hand weapons. No, heavy great weapons, and also these like big bows. So yeah, lots of options there. The Eternals are quite modular actually. And then finally, you're also going to get the Eternal Guardian. The Eternal Guardian is a completely new unit for OPR. This was not in the game before. We thought it was cool, and so we added it. And the Eternal Guardians, basically, they are tough 6, so they're pretty big. They're like 60, 70 millimeters tall. And they're basically like big monsters. And the idea here is that you basically take the cocoon with the dead elf inside, and you place it inside of the chest of this guardian, and it basically animates and it becomes this powerful killing machine. Yeah, that's the Wood Elves for March. Moving on to the Grimdark, which is the HDF. So HDF for March, I think that's actually the last month of the HDF. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is going to be very interesting. Ooh, starting next month, you get concept art for the Orc Marauders. That's going to be nice. All right. So, what do you get on your last release for the HDF? So, first off, you're going to get the Munitioner. The Munitioner basically is sort of your Munitioner type. He brings lots of ammo and belts and guns and stuff like that. Here he has a rifle, but I think in the final version he actually has like a big shotgun. He has a special helmet with like a cool visor and stuff like that. So the munitioner is basically he pumps up your units to shoot more powerfully. I think he gives AP1 to the unit. So it's pretty cool. Then you're going to get the recruits. The recruits are interesting concepts. So again, when we make minis for our armies, we adapt them to our lore. We did not like the idea of having conscripts in the HDF. It didn't really make sense. At some point, we had thought about making some sort of like militia, like a civilian militia, but it also felt really weird, like the idea of having the HDF fight with just these random militia soldiers. And so then we came up with the idea of the recruits. Basically, the recruits are, you got to start somewhere in the HDF, and sometimes you're a recruit and your base gets attacked, or you have we need some extra men on a special mission, and well, you'll take some recruits. The recruits are interesting. They're basically not armored. They have cute little hats. They have very basic equipment. I think they only come with rifles. I'm not even sure that they come with a command group. They're your basic chaff. They're there to prove themselves or die. It's what it is. So that's your recruits. Then you're also going to get the truck. So the truck is the final, vehicle for the HDF. It is actually technically the transport vehicle of the stormtroopers. The final design looks a bit different than this. In this design, the front just kind of like goes down, and when we tried to do this in 3D, it looked very wrong. I think it looks cool in a concept, but then it looked wrong, so we modified it. But yeah, basically the truck is your stormtrooper transport. It is more mobile and more nimble than an APC. Different weapons too. Again, it's the type of thing that you would have expect the stormtroopers to bring on a planet rather than an APC. Then we go also into our final walker. So you're going to get the combat walker. Very important. Again, when we started making the walkers in 3D, not just in concept, when we started making them in 3D, and we made the Titan tactical Titan, we realized that the design without a head was not working. It looked cool in 2D. In 3D, it looked horrendous. It looked horrendous. And so we changed the design. And so the combat walker, the concept, the idea behind it is the same. So it's going to be, heavier than a regular walker. It's going to be a melee walker. It's going to have a sword and like a minigun and all this sort of stuff. But it's going to have a head. It's going to have a different shape that is more related to what we are doing now from the HDF. So when I say here you should only look at the concept, I actually mean the concept. The idea of the concept. It will look probably very different from this. It will look cool, but don't expect exactly this because, like I said, things have changed. Then you're also going to get the tactical walker. The tactical walker basically is like the baby brother of the Titan walker. In this screenshot, again, it's like a very old picture from the early designs where they didn't have a head and stuff like that. But you can expect the tactical walker to be essentially a smaller version of the tactical Titan. It looks different. It has um, a different head, but generally speaking, the design is very similar. I think instead of having like two rocket pods, it only has one. It has the same type of weapons, that type of stuff. All right. Okay, so this was the HDF concepts. Then you are going to get for quest. Yes, very interesting. For quest, you are gonna get a vampiric undead barbarian. I have seen the 3D. Maybe some things are gonna be changing a bit from this concept, but yeah, very interesting. When we pick which factions, so when we pick which characters to make for which heroes to make for quests and star quests, one of the things we are trying to do is pick combos that are not immediately obvious. So it's like, okay, you need to make a barbarian. Well, you make it an orc. Okay, very basic. Or you make it a dwarf. All right, we've seen dwarf berserkers. But we were thinking like, okay, what have we never seen? Like, I have never seen a barbarian like a vampire. And okay, that's something cool that we can do. And so here is basically what we're gonna do, which is yeah, I like the combo. I like the idea of doing these funky combos. So okay, that's the vampiric undead barbarian, and then for the for StarQuest, you are going to get an Alien Hives infiltrator. What is it called? A Prime infiltrator? Infiltrator Prime? Is it a Prime? I think it is. Sorry, I'm a bit confused. Anyway, you're gonna get the Alien Hives Infiltrator again. One of those things where you think like, okay, you're making an Alien Hives StarQuest character, which already is a bit like weird because we're not really used to seeing Alien Hives with like clothes and stuff like that. But then you would expect like, oh, you're gonna make a warrior, some sort of soldier, some sort of berserker. And I was like, no, 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 no. Let's go for the interesting one. Let's go for the infiltrator. Let's make what would be an Alien Hive spy like? And yeah, and here you got it. I think it's gonna be very cool. It's gonna be a fun thing to work on. All right, then you also Then you're also going to get terrain. So we're going to, of course, continue with the desert terrain. You can see it here. A bit like the thing I was talking about before. So yes, you do get dunes and rocks and stuff like that, but there's also vegetations. There's also buildings in there, like these sort of ruins. Um, yeah, cool stuff. And then finally, you are also going to get a legendary, and you are going to get the Great Owl Chimera. So this is for the Wood Elves. I had mentioned it a little bit before, but we have the little Owl Chimera buddy. We have the Owl Chimeras that are the Mounted Weavers are on those, and then we have the Great Owl Chimera. The Great Owl Chimera is very big. This is a legendary. And yeah, it's very big and very cool. I've seen the model; it looks very impressive. It actually has some cute little detail at the bottom as well, some little buddy action there. And yeah, I don't know what else to say really. It's a huge chimera. It can fly. It can harm you with its claws. And with its beak, I suppose it has a pretty short beak, but still, I would not want to put my arm in there. Um, Okay, cool. So I think that's it. Yes. All right. Whew, this was a long time. All right. So what can we do now? Like this? Like this? Man, let's do it like this. How do I usually do it? Usually I do it like this. But then, okay, well, I could do this. What if I do this? That looks weird. What if I do this? That definitely doesn't make sense. Let's try this. Hey, something new to play around with. But should my face be in front of it? Now my face is small. What's the point? My face is big. Okay. All right. So we are coming into the Q&A section of the stream. So I'm now going to go through the questions that have been asked on the Google form. Then afterwards, I'm gonna put a line here. Uh, um, Okay. I'm also basically I'm putting Q&A after this. Any question that's asked after this, I will try and answer it, and I will try to be quick because we're already getting to the end of the stream. And yes, let's just go. All right. So questions. Can you explain a bit more about the demons in the setting? Usually considered an evil group, but in OPR, everyone is a hero in their own eyes. Yeah. So depending on if you're talking about the demons in fantasy or demons in sci-fi. I mean, okay, so yes, it's true. In OPR, we think that no faction is evil in their own eyes, and everything is kind of like a gray area. And for us, it's about creating a setting where you can take a faction and make it a good guy or make it a bad guy, depending on your story. That's why for me, a lot of the focus is like the world books are meant to tell you about the world in general, and it's the saga that tells you about like what's their role in this story and like are they good or bad in this story. For example, in the last tier, which is coming out, the war demons are the bad guys, right? So you could claim that like, well, they're the bad guys because of their own reasons, but like you could claim like, well, like are they the baddies? Anyway, what's the deal with the demons? The demons are basically um, the demon gods come from a plane where essentially some sort of disease went around where there's basically some sort of disease that is kind of like killing or has killed the gods, and basically the few that are remaining are just lashing out and reacting to the fact that they went from being immortal to actually suddenly being mortal in some way. And so each demon god is pursuing their own answer to the question of what do you do when you're about to die, and basically they're basically just trying to save themselves, and they're not going to stop at anything for that. um, and so yeah, like they're not bad guys, it's just that they have their own goal, right? So for example, the change demons, the focus of the change god is really about like, okay, how like the belief of the god is that the way out from death is through knowledge, right? It's basically a panic, like being like, okay, if I just figure out how to maybe there's a cure, there's a potion, there's a trick, there's an enchantment, there's something I can do, there's some cure, there's some knowledge based cure that I can find to my ailment. And so that's what he sends his demons and followers out to do, to get him that knowledge that hopefully will be able to save him. I say him, but it's actually an it. Sorry, there is no sex for the gods. Um, and um, and so, if the god of change believes that, in the library of your city, there is the answer to its problem, and you don't open the gates, well, your city might get stopped, because it really wants to get at, it's in a way, it's just panic responses. That's really what the demon gods are about. They're just different panic responses, to the knowledge of dying. Uh, so yeah, I don't know. If you were dying, I think um, you would be able to do horrendous things as well for your own survival. So I don't think that they're bad guys. I think that they're just doing whatever they think they need to do to survive. And that might be deplorable what they end up doing. But it's not just senseless. All right. Next question. What are the plans for Orcs and Battle Brother models? Orc Marauders are coming out starting in April for Grimdark Future. I have nothing to announce about Battle Brothers yet. So yes. Will we see other branded game aids as STLs or merch that can be used for games, like token holders, token trays, display stands for printed rulebooks, VP round counters, model displays, transport cases? So, okay, we are in terms of STLs, we are trying. I mean, in merch as well, we are trying to focus on getting things right. As you know, we have been suffering from a lot of delays when it comes to STLs, and so, for example, I don't think that right now we want to focus on making token holders and token trays and display stands when it's like we need to make the models that need to come out. So that's our focus. Same thing in terms of merch, right? So right now we've been focusing on the major things that we can do. Some of them are quick wins. Some of them take more work. For example, Broken Truth campaign. And so all of the things that you're mentioning here in terms of merch, it's stuff that we would love to do, but we have other priorities right now. And also, I'm gonna be honest, the amount of demand for them might not be as big as you think. Like one thing that has happened to us multiple times over the last 10 years is, for example, people say, we want t-shirt, we want t-shirts, we want t-shirts. Then we do like a t-shirt drop, and like nobody buys them, and so it's like, I in a weird way, it's like, if as long as people don't put their money where their mouth is at, we cannot, like, what's the point? Like, what's the point in finding a partner that can make t-shirts and do great designs and all that stuff, if then, like, we invest a bunch of money and time, and that's really the biggest thing. It's like the amount of time and effort we invest into that, which could have been used on something else, and then nobody buys them, and it's like, what was the point? So lots of things that we would like to do. Unsure when we're going to do them because we have different priorities. Would OPR think about expanding releases with dioramas, non-combat figures, busts, etc.? The question is longer, but it's about this: busts, 75 million busts, helmets, all this type of stuff. So I'm a bit torn about that. So we have released some dioramas as legendaries. Those are like, they come with models on there that you can use, which I think is very cool. And we have some plans for some more diorama style legendaries in the future. That being said, whilst dioramas are cool, people want things that they can actually play with. So we try to make sure that things, are playable in the games. We do have plans for a diorama that is less playable, and we'll see how the community reacts to that. But generally speaking, yeah, we want to make things playable. About busts, honestly, it's just a demand thing. The amount of people, I think there is a very small minority that is quite vocal about wanting busts, but the reality is that it takes time and effort to make them properly. Because the thing is, like, we design our miniatures for 32 mil, right? That's a pretty small scale. And some people say like, oh, just rescale the models, make them bigger, cut them as a bust, and whatever. And it's like, yeah, but then you end up with like a shitty model, because usually what you see with other creators is they make models for 75 millimeters with lots of details, they look great, and then they scale them down to work for 32 millimeters. We are doing it the other way around. And so if we wanted to make a 75 millimeter bust, we would have to essentially like re-sculpt the miniature, add a bunch of detail, add texture, add all that stuff. And the reality is that the demand is not really there. I have been very curious about busts for a long time, and I actually spoke to a bunch of creators that do busts, and every one of them told me like, this is not really the way. There is one thing about busts, which is that, and it's the same thing with like collectibles, is that the people that do want busts usually want busts. Like, if you want to, let's say, make it big in the bust business, you just need to do popular IPs, and that's not something we're interested in. So, we're not going to start taking some popular IP and making busts for that. First off, because IP law and all that stuff, and we don't want to infringe on anyone's work. But also because it's just not our interest, right? Our interest is to work on our worlds and our minis and our stuff. Yeah. So like, could it maybe be a quick buck in some way? Maybe. Would it be worth it? I don't think so. Can you provide pre-supported models for FDM printing? We have no plans in doing that. That being said, uh, usually you don't support models for FDM printing. I mean, depending on what you're doing, but anyway, we have no plans to do that. Okay, I've been really enjoying the quest system games. Whilst I know you can use any set of minis as a position in stories, there's something special about using the factions from the story. Yes, that's true. Are there any plans to do a Frontier one-off product quest book for the past releases, like a hero model for undead and quest story to fight them, or a quest that has the robot legions or elf fleets as the baddies? We have some thoughts and some ideas about something like that in the future, but it's gonna take a while. Like, if I look at our idea of like our release schedule and all the incredible amount of stuff that we have to work on, I think it's gonna probably take 1 or 2 years before we start doing it. I'm just being realistic. Sorry if it's disappointing, but it's just I'm being realistic and I'm being honest. I think it's gonna be a while, but yes, I would love to um, eventually do that, because yeah, I mean, we have tons of factions, and they don't have quest stuff, and it would be cool to do. But again, it's also a bit of like a demand, supply and demand type of thing. I think the narrative campaigns for quests are very cool, and we put them on Patreon, and people enjoy them and all that stuff, and that's great. I don't know that if we released a narrative campaign on Frontiers, even with the army and stuff, that it would be that popular. Quest is cool, but it's still, I'm gonna say, a niche system. I mean, very niche. Let's be honest. Um, with some of the delays we've been having when it comes to model release, would it be possible to relax a bit the restrictions on the monthly painting contest, like push the deadline back a couple of weeks? Unclear. I mean, really, the solution would be to stop having delays, and we're working hard to get there. But it's also just a matter of like timeline for things, and like, when do you, like, we already do so many things. We have a very cramped news cycle, the schedule. I don't know that pushing back the deadline for the contest um is going to work well. And again, my hope is that we just stop having the delays. I will think about it. No promises. I'm a little bit about it, but I will think about it. Do you feel like building different games in totally different settings, like a puzzle solver in the Titanic or a froggy crossing a pond on lily pads, or are you more of an OPR forever guy? Um, it's interesting. I feel like uh, I love to design games, and I actually love to make worlds as well. And I think that sorry. So I love to do it stuff, and so yes, of course, I want to make 1,000 games and 1,000 settings. But I also understand that realistically, like I've built this company and it's very successful, and it's paying for my livelihood and for all of our team. And so I think what is more realistic is that in the long run, I would do those type of games as spin-offs, because that's actually one of the things about the OPR universe that I think is very cool, is that it's made to both give you a lot of detail about where we are in the setting, but also to leave a lot of room open for other things. So, for example, I don't know if you've read the Grimdark Future World book, you know about the concept of like there's the inner sphere, the outer sphere, and the frontier. And so imagine like I want to do a spy thriller sort of story game type of thing. Well, I could set it in the series sector, and maybe I say like I don't know, I just want it to be about people. Like I don't want it to be about whatnot. I don't want it to be about aliens. Okay, well I can set it in the HDF, or I could maybe do something where it's like, oh, maybe I want to make something that's a little bit more steampunk and whatever. Okay, well, I could find a corner of the universe where there's like a steampunk subsetting, or I always had this dream at the time. I was calling this game, well, multiple games. There was game called Slav 28, but basically the idea was like, using making games in Slavic backgrounds, because I'm half Slavic, and so for example, I really like the idea of making a stalker like game. If you know about the Stalker universe, or maybe the Metro universe, and I really love the idea, and I'm like, okay, but if I wanted to, again, I could take a corner of the series sector, maybe in the zone, uh, and have some HDF there, and have a special planet where blah blah blah. And now I can make a specialist game that is set there. Maybe make it a boxed game, like a board game type of thing, where it's like, hey, this is a one and done, like closed experience. Maybe. Okay, sorry, I feel like I'm rambling, but basically what I'm saying is like, there's lots of things I would love to do. I have a constraint of time, but I also think that if I want to do them, it would make sense for me to do them within OPR rather than outside of OPR. And in the long run, I think that becomes more and more and more possible. For example, like I was seeing recently that they're making like a farming type, like what do you call it, like uh, uh, um, Harvest Moon type of game set in the Lord of the Rings universe, where it's like hobbits, building your farm and stuff like that. I'm like, oh yeah, like maybe one day we are at that point where it's like we have a big enough audience where it's like, yeah, if we want to make a Harvest Moon style game, set in the serious sector, yeah, we might, or set in Tyria. Yeah, could be interesting. Okay, that was the last question from the forum. I'm going to go back to the stream and let me scroll up. Oh lordy. Okay, let me answer the questions that I find here. I'll try to be quick, and then we are done. All right. Do you plan on updating the HDF field utility with the attachments right in the release? Army Forge has 2 options for it, but we have 4 or 5 options in the release. I'm pretty sure that they have been updated. I'm opening Army Forge right now to check it. So if I go to Human Defense Force and I go to Field Artillery, yes, you have all 5 options: rocket battery, field cannon, light AA cannon, heavy laser cannon, and light shard mortar. So you can grab that right now. When will the spell lists be fixed? I'm looking at High Elf Fleets. Like I said, we are going to be reworking all the spell lists as part of the retheming coming September 2025. What is the inspiration for the Ratman naming convention? Oh Lord. So the idea of the Ratman language, I'm gonna see if I can grab the notes here. The idea of the Ratman language was that it should sound crittery. We like the idea that it sounded like something that a mouse or a rat or whatever a rodent would do, like would say. I am not sure. Damn, I wish I had Robbie here. I'm trying to find because the languages also have like references to real world languages, but the idea with the language is that they sound rodenty. So, for example, one of the heroes' names is Vaknip, and the idea is like that you have this little like this little squeaky Vaknip type of sound in their language. So I actually have like a bunch of names here. Maybe I should not be trying to read them all out, but like we have a guy called I love these names and an ip. So we have like Letnip, Bricknip, Tebakrit, and they have all of these little Latinec, Britannic, and they have all of these little like these little squeaky-ish sounds that feel crittery. So that was the inspiration for the Ratman naming convention. I know Patreon members can usually get a discount on campaigns. However, it is also available if I only want one of the two factions for the newest skirmish campaign. I don't remember exactly how the discount code works. I might be wrong, but as far as I know, it works only on the tiers and not on the add-ons. I'm not 100% sure. I'm sorry. I don't remember. I hope one of the moderators is in the chat and maybe can answer that question for you. Sorry. Question: weren't the Wood Elves light deer riders for January? Yes. Unfortunately, those models were delayed. Unfortunately, a lot of models are currently delayed. I spoke about it a little bit with people on Discord, but not in the stream so much. But yes, basically, it's been messy between Christmas holidays and New Year's, and a delayed back, like a back, how do you call it? The project kind of like got backed up. I saw the Wood Elves, the Deer Riders, and all that stuff. They're almost done. I'm hoping that everything gets released ASAP, but unfortunately, I can't tell you when. Any word on when the narrative StarQuest campaign will it be finished? Will it reflect the proposed quest StarQuest changes? So the StarQuest campaign will finish with the release of the HDF, so that will be in March. And then you will get a new StarQuest campaign in April featuring the Orc Marauders. In terms of reflecting the proposed changes, for those that don't know, like there are some ideas that I threw out for possible changes to Quest and StarQuest in the future, but like we promised, we are not planning on doing any major changes to the rules for a whole year. That's kind of like what we decided. So no, we're not going to update until September. Yeah. Any update on the delayed HDF tank for the January release? Oh man. Again, things are messy. Things are backed up. Basically, what happened is we had somebody work on it. It wasn't working out. We had to give it to somebody else. It was not really working out. We basically had to take it in hand and work on it ourselves. And then files got corrupted, from what I understand. And so basically, files got lost, and we had to go back and start redoing things. And so it's delayed, and I don't know until when. I saw a screenshot of it today. It looked pretty cool. I think it's getting there to be released soon, but things like these happen. I hate it, but things like these happen, unfortunately. I remember there was a project, this was like 2 years ago by now. This was the Alien Hives Spore, Invasion Spore. I don't remember exactly what happened. It was something like an artist was working on it, and then I think he lost the files, and then he had to start again, and then there was a flood, and his computer got busted, and then he was basically like unable to work for a while. So we gave it to somebody else, and that person had to start from scratch to kind of get it. Whew, sometimes things are messy. But yes, I'm sorry for the delays, and we're trying to get it to you as soon as possible. Next question. The helos in the Orc Marauders list were just about the coolest thing ever, although they will not get OPR models as stated in the stream before. Will there be given stat blocks for the army list? No. We have no plans on adding those models or those rules. Any chance to get profiles more suitable for Cruel Boys minis with the upcoming Orc release? I don't know exactly what you mean. What I can tell you is that all of the units in the army will be reflected, so everything is going to be there, with some small additions actually. Uh, it's hard to print and paint in winter and autumn. Releasing the rules in September, I end up updating my armies after 6 months. Any idea on changing the time of the update? No, we have no plans on changing the update away from September. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have a better thing to tell you. Maybe one day we could do it, but I don't know exactly how that would work because it's like I'll talk about it with the team. But anyway, if we were to make a change, it would be like I don't even know when. Like next year, the year after. I'm not sure. Um, how are the ruins terrain supposed to be used? All of the urban ruins pieces look like they can only be the first floors, and the platform fees don't fit into. Okay, sorry. Yes, for those that don't know, there was some issue with the urban terrain. We want to get it fixed, but unfortunately, again, it's one of those things where one project is backing up into the next project, which is like the huge mess that we've had for a long time now, and that we're trying to fix. We just hired like 6 new sculptors to help all these things, but basically, we are going to fix the terrain so that the platform actually fits inside the thing. Yeah, that's basically how they're supposed to work. Like you're supposed to make the walls, put the thing on top, put another set of walls, put the thing on top, and make your buildings that way. Ultimately, they're still meant to be ruins, so they're not really built for you to make a skyscraper. You can make one, but it's always going to look a bit weird because they're ruins. Um, if we applied for the Ranger program, which time frame can we expect an answer about that application? It should still be in January. I will double check with my team, but it should still be in January that you get a reply. Can we get PDFs for the quest book on MMF when it's finished? So there was actually a problem with. For a moment we had PDFs of books on MMF, and then MMF has a system where they do like watermarking and other stuff that basically, from what I understand, made the PDFs essentially unusable for a lot of people, and so we got a lot of complaints about them. So that's why we pulled PDFs from MMF. That being said, we could try and talk to MMF and see if it can come back. I will take a note for this, but I remember discussing it, and it was like it was not as simple as like, oh, just put them MMF type of situation. Or maybe I'm wrong. What about Epic Scale? As we announced a couple streams ago, right now, small scale games and minis have been put on hold. I have no idea when we'll get back to them. Realistically, again, just trying to be realistic with everyone. Realistically speaking, designing and developing a new game takes time. And right now, I'm fully focused on the army retheming. So I don't think I would be able to put real work into that anytime before, September. So not anytime soon. Um, mm, 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 One bus perfection would be pretty cool for exposure. Maybe again, we have so many other things going on. Putting the work into there just for exposure to then delay other things is not our priority right now. Are there any plans to unify the AOF dwarf armies? Having 3 lackluster dwarf factions leaves them in a weird place. No, we have no plans to combine the 3 dwarf armies into one. Actually, there's 4 dwarf armies. Okay. Is there an ETA on urban bases now that the terrain line is done? As far as I know, the urban bases were fully sculpted and ready. I'm not sure why you guys didn't get them yet. So I'm writing this down, and I will double check with the team. But as far as I know, they should be done, and so it's just about rendering and getting them out there, unless there was some other issue. I know the terrain is made for resin printing. How difficult is it to make it also FDM friendly? Doesn't seem so with many being almost supportless with. Is even worth thinking about. When we decided to change how we do our terrain, we went through a big phase of a lot of things regarding FDM. And when I tell you it was a big thing. We spoke to a bunch of manufacturers. We spoke to a bunch of different teams. We were actually looking into potentially hiring some people. Lots of things happened. And what I can tell you ultimately is that we just we don't think the for what we are trying to achieve, we don't think that the sacrifices we would have to make our terrain FDM, like fully FDM supported, it's not worth it for us. So yeah, it is what it is. What's your opinion on custom armies heroes with multiple buffs that can affect their own or other units and or spellcasting? Um, on custom armies have heroes. So I guess somebody made a custom army where a hero can upgrade with a bunch of buffs. That was not the intention. I think ultimately, I feel a little bit torn sometimes because I'm like, there is lots of things that we could do with the Balval to try and make sure that people make an army that is hitting our requirements, quote unquote requirements for it to be Balval. But we don't want to be too heavy handed with that because it's like if people want to make the problem is this. Okay, put yourself in my shoes. Here's basically what happens. It's like I have all of these design rules that I use to make an army balanced, right? And I can tell you that, and I want your armies to be compatible with my armies. All right. So if I want to make sure that 100% of all custom armies are in line with my armies, then I have to make a much more extensive, much more robust Balval system that flags armies when they go outside of the rules. The problem is, if I do that, then yes, sure, I have now a system where your army can be sure to be more compatible with my army, but then everybody gets armies that have the, not balanced sticker and stuff like that on top. And then people are very unhappy about it. And then what happens is that you might have made a really cool army that really works with your project, and maybe in combination with your armies and all that stuff. But just because it says not balanced, people are like, well, I'm not going to play this because it's not balanced with OPR armies. So I find myself in this spot where it's like, I'm not even sure that sometimes I'm not even sure that having that tag not balanced or whatever even should be there in the sense. Like, in a sense, like, I don't know. I think it should be obvious in some ways that there is no expectations of people making stuff that is fully balanced with our way of doing things, but I don't know exactly where to draw that line. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Any time frame for terrain info on Broken Truth? No, no, no time frame on when we will talk about it yet. Okay, I'm trying to get to the last questions. I see there's still a lot of questions, so I'm gonna go really fast. With the two quest games, would it be possible to either add players with 0 point cost or manually set the party point cost? Yes. If you go to Army Forge when you are running a mission, I'm literally doing it right now as I speak. When you are running a mission on the right-hand side, well, I'm using it on PC. You can click on custom wave size. When you click on custom wave size, you can basically set, what point values you want. So, whatever you want to do there, you can do yourself. So, yeah. Will the Ratman bundle in the new campaign be number 1 or a new one that has a mix of infantry, ogres, etc.? I would expect it to be bundle number 1, but I'm not 100% sure. Do you do some modeling yourself, Tom? I mean 3D modeling. No, I don't. I know there is more of a push this year to have. I know there is more of a push this year to have more physical models. Is there any thoughts on selling physical terrain or playmats? Again, the focus right now is on the minis. I think it would be very cool if the content that is in Broken Truth is also available separately afterwards, so you could buy, the terrain, for example, but unsure. So no promises. Okay, whew, all right. I speed ran through the end. We are almost 2 hours in. Thank you, everyone, for coming to my stream. I make sure to check out Broken Truth, sign up so that when you buy the box, you can get a dice tray. The next stream should be theoretically on the 27th of February. I'm gonna put it on my calendar right now. And yeah, and that's it. Thank you everyone for coming. I hope you liked the first stream of the year. Let me know your thoughts actually about having a guest on the stream. Like maybe put a comment on the YouTube video afterwards. I have been thinking about maybe integrating more people. Like maybe we launch a new project, we bring someone in to talk about it a little bit. People are shy. Let me also tell you that, but maybe it could be interesting, especially if you find a way to make it like time sensitive. Anyway, all right. Thank you, everyone.